So welcome to the People Performance Podcast, where we discuss all things people performance. The People Performance Podcast is made up of 3 series. First up, we have the Leader Lounge episodes with me, the founder. Then we have the guest interview episodes. And finally, we have the performance episodes delivered by the T2 consultants. If after listening to our podcast, you want to get in touch with T2 about anything we do, please contact us at help@trans2performance.com. You can stream or listen to our podcast on all the usual platforms available. So for now, sit back, tune in, and enjoy the People Performance Podcast.
Coming up on this episode.
And the amount of times I've been stood there in a room with a group of leaders and I've said, simplify. And every single time I use us as an example, and it's like the penny drops.
Missions started in the military. So businesses sort of nicked it. Businesses have adopted mission statements. Mission statements have always been a military thing, i.e. you start with the end in mind. The mission is to, attack the enemy compound and secure the hostages. The mission is to ensure a safe convoy across the with the logistics supply across the bridge. Whatever the statement was, it wasn't very long. It was punchy, impactful, it was an outcome, and it was no more than 12 words.
Hello and welcome to the People Performance Podcast with me, Bernice Castley.
And me, Martin Johnson.
So today's podcast is all about organisational strategy and a very important tool that we like to call the strategic stack. And what better way to explore this topic by having our very own CEO and founder of T2, Martin Johnson. So Martin, kick us off. Tell us, what is the strategic stack and ultimately why is it important?
Thanks, Bernice. I'm looking forward to this. But firstly, it's worth mentioning we are in our new podcast
we are,
room.
Yes.
So it feels a little bit alien at the minute.
I know.
We're sat here opposite each other. We've got the corner. There's more to come in the podcast room. We're going to have some branding put on the walls. But this is our new studio, and we're the first ever episode in the studio.
We are.
So let's get it right.
Yes.
The strategic stack. So this is the term we use when we work with clients on their overall high-level strategy for their organisation or team, starting right at the top with what is their mission. We work through, we call it a stack because we have a pyramid, don't we? Which is a really good illustration of the different layers of that pyramid and how organisations who get every layer right stand the greatest chance of succeeding in their endeavour. Right at the top, you've got the mission. Underneath that, you've got the vision, which we'll come to. You've then got your organizational goals, the strategy and plan that is going to deliver against those goals. And then right at the bottom, you've got the foundation level, which is the culture, the behaviors, the values that you want to foster along the way. And quite often, when we work with clients, everybody assumes businesses has this all nailed down and it's all absolutely clear with clarity and everybody singing off the same song sheet, and it's almost never the case. Would you is that, or am I being harsh?
No, I would absolutely agree. And something that we do, of course, at T2 is we deliver one-to-one coaching workshops to people in all sectors, but at all different levels. And it's the one consistent thing that I see so often when I'm working with a client, and no matter what level they are, some of the regular challenges that people face all comes down to a lack of clarity. And that's what the strategic stack helps people to, I suppose, achieve, doesn't it?
Yeah. I would go as far as saying, me and you spoke about this earlier off camera, I would go as far as saying that this is the number one thing that will either enable a team or organisation to succeed, or, on the contrary, inhibit any chance of success whatsoever. Like, there's many things that can be a challenge for a team or an organization. You might not have the right people. You might have poor leadership. You might have a high turnover of staff. You might not have the right funding or the right level of investment. You might not have market share. You might not have the right product and service innovation. There's many things that could inhibit your success. But none of them, or in fact, all of those things pale into insignificance compared to not getting this piece right, not having direction and clarity. And so the strategic stack is an incredibly important thing to understand as a team, as an organization, or as a leader. And I talk a lot about the flag on the hill. And for people who have worked with me, this is what I'm talking about. The flag on the hill is, that is where we are going. That is where we are heading. That's what unites us all. Yeah. You have to know where you are going.
Yeah.
You have to know where you are going. And there's so many problems with this, which is why the mission is probably worth starting on. The mission is so important to get right from the beginning.
Definitely. So with that said then, let's jump into the strategic stack and break it down. So starting off with that mission then. So tell us, what's that all about?
Well, your mission is your message to the world. It is, what purpose are we here to serve? What is the ultimate thing we are trying to do or deliver in the world?
Yes.
And so if you think about this, it's an external statement. It's overused, but NASA's mission was to put a man on the moon. You know, Google's mission was to make the world's information available to anyone, anywhere. You know, these type of statements that say, this is ultimately what we are here to achieve or try and achieve. Quite often organizations get them mixed up with vision statements, which are more internal focused, which we'll come to. But our mission here at T2 is to develop the people of today, the leaders of tomorrow, and the organizations of the future. And so our mission statement is very much around, if we can get to as many people as we can and offer them some development, some self-awareness, some progression, some understanding, and we can get to as many leaders as we can in organizations and work with them to be better leaders, then we're going to create better organizations for the future generations to work in.
Yeah.
And that's our mission. And so when you work here at T2, you'll know I stand up at every meeting and I talk about this and what it means. It helps people to understand what roles they play in that. Because if you're in marketing or you're a consultant or you're in sales or finance, whatever it might be, your contribution will be different.
Yes. But
you can understand why it's important and how it connects to the end game. Yeah. So mission statements are incredibly important. They are your message to the world. They are the external statement of what is it that we are here to try and achieve.
Yeah, and I think something that's so important is simplifying it. We spoke about this previously, but how many times have you been working with a client to help them define what this looks like in their organisation? And that mission statement it's almost like a paragraph. And the amount of times I've been stood there in a room with a group of leaders and I've said, simplify. And every single time I use us as an example, and it's like the penny drops because it needs to be really simple. Why is it so important for it to be a statement rather than a gigantic paragraph on the page?
Well, again, it's got to be simple. It's got to have clarity. It's got to say what you do in 12 words.
Yeah.
Or less.
Less than.
Number one, that makes it easy to retain and remember for everybody who's involved in that mission. Mm-hmm. Mission started in the military. So businesses sort of nicked it. Businesses have adopted mission statements. Mission statements have always been a military thing, i.e. you start with the end in mind. The mission is to, attack the enemy compound and secure the hostages. The mission is to ensure a safe convoy across the with the logistics supply across the bridge. Whatever the statement was, it wasn't very long. It was punchy, impactful. It was an outcome, and it was no more than 12 words. Yeah. That's what binds everybody together. So it's really important to get that right. You can get more granular as you go down the strategic stack, as we can talk about. When you get to goals and strategies and stuff, that's where you get more granular. But for your mission statement, you stay so high level, and it's got to be powerful, impactful. It has to be an outcome, a measurable outcome, right? And it has to describe what you are trying to achieve.
Definitely. And I think the simplicity of it makes it memorable and people can connect to it. You mentioned there, Martin, just a moment ago, how so many people get confused between that difference between the vision and the mission. So talk to us around kind of what is the vision?
This is the biggest thing that blows my mind. huge organizations that we've worked with, or that, huge brands you would recognize, where they're confusing a mission statement from a vision statement. They've got a vision statement first and a mission statement second. It's the wrong way around. One's internal. Simply put, if your mission is your message to the outside world, and it is a description of what we are here to achieve, then your vision statement is the internal vision for your team or organization, which describes how we are going to achieve that mission. In what fashion do we want to achieve that? What's going to be fundamental to the way we go about it?
Yeah.
So our vision statement might probably worth mentioning ours. So if our mission is we're on this planet to develop the people of today, the leaders of tomorrow, and the organizations of the future, our vision statement is we want to become a world-class learning and development consultancy. And again, that's really high level. What does that mean? We'll come to that when we set our goals. But if we're going to do that and have an impact for people, leaders, and organizations over the next 2 decades, we need to set ourselves up, and everything has to be world-class.
Yes.
The people we attract, the systems and technology we implement, the product offerings and services that we give to our customers, the experiences a customer has from the minute they walk in the door to the minute they leave.
Yes.
Right? Everything has to be put under a microscope and say, how do we stack up against what's out there? And how are we measuring ourselves in terms of quality? And so our vision statement is we will always endeavor to try and advance towards being a world-class learning and development consultancy. Will we ever get there? Is it ever finite? I don't know. But that's what we've said is our vision statement for T2.
Yeah, and it sets the bar, doesn't it? And it means that, again, every single person throughout the organisation has the ability to consider kind of what part do I play in creating that world class, in our example. Anyway.
Yeah, and how are we stacking up? How are you stacking up? How, if you're the head of digital here at T2, how do you compare to the best head of digitals in other learning and development organizations? How do you benchmark yourself? How do you benchmark your effectiveness and the quality that you produce and the quality of our marketing campaigns and our social media output and our content? How are we benchmarking that again as world class? And so, we've come down into 2 layers of the strategic stack, and we haven't got detailed yet.
Nope.
These are very, very high level, aspirational outcomes that we are trying to achieve both externally for our clients and the world, and internally for our organization and its employees. Yeah. One is a mission, one is a vision. Yeah. For what we want to become. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Moving into the third element then, because this is where a little bit more detail does start to come into play. So what's the third element all about?
So under the mission and vision, you then get to start defining your goals. Yeah. So this is the goals section of the strategic stack. Business goals or organizational goals or team goals are precisely that. They are, okay, if we want to achieve that mission and we want to go about it in this way and bring this vision alive and make it a reality, then what are the tangible milestones and outcomes we want to achieve each year? And I'll come back to that because these are yearly. These should be updated on a 6-monthly and yearly basis, whereas the mission and the vision should always remain, in my view. Once you've set it, you've set it. If it's aspirational enough and over a period of time, that doesn't change until it's become a reality.
Yes.
So for me, since day one, those mission and vision statements at T2 have never changed. But every year, the goals do.
Yeah.
So the goals, as you come down the stack, the goals have to be evaluated, reviewed, and set every single year or whatever period you are working through. And I always say as well, this is the bit where organizations get greedy. This is the bit where they over-egg the pudding. They overdo it.
When you say greedy and over-egging the pudding, greedy with what? How many?
Exactly. The volume of goals, the volume of priorities that they say to their organization, we need to achieve this year, is fundamentally overwhelming for the vast majority of organizations.
I think I even just one client that we're partnered with, just various different changes, not only at an executive level, but within the organisation, even just in the last 3 to 5 years, the growth that they've had and the change in direction that they've had as an organisation. But it then means that for so many of this senior leadership team, there's so many goals they can't process, they can't prioritize. And it actually has resulted in different departments working on different things that then end up kind of counteracting another goal over here. And it just causes chaos and confusion, I would define it as.
If there was a description of siloed behaviour or siloed working, it would be what you've just described.
Yeah.
And that fundamentally is driven by too many goals.
Yes.
Or too many priorities. And the term priority is singular. Priority. What is the priority?
Yeah.
And so when it comes to goals, I think organisations do get greedy. They lose their way a little bit and everything's important. And look, teams and organisations are complex. It's really difficult to define 2 or 3 goals for an annual period because there's so much that needs doing quite often.
Yes.
But the ones that have the best clarity and the ones where the teams seem more understanding and aligned is where they limit the amount of goals they have to 3 to 5 big rocks.
Yeah.
This is a big saying in business, isn't it? The big rocks. What are the big rocks? What are the things we need to achieve that will advance us towards that mission and vision? And what's the trade-off?
Yeah.
What's got to wait?
Yeah.
What's not as important right now? And because if we can start achieving goals, once we've achieved them, we can start then bringing more in.
Yeah.
But I would say we have 4 here at T2.
Yeah,
we have 4 big business outcome goals that we want to achieve this year. And every year I will update them, but never stack it with more than 3 or 4.
Yeah. I think if it gets to the point of anything over 5, then you can't.
And at the goals level, they've got to be measurable. They've got to be tangible. They've got to somehow advance that mission forwards or that vision forwards or both. And you can get a bit more detailed under the main goals around, as we'll come to with the strategic initiatives and projects to make them happen. That's where the devil's in the detail, and we can now really start to work on that plan to be able to actually achieve the goal.
Definitely. So we've explored the mission, the vision, the goals. The next part then is all around the strategy. So this is definitely where the detail comes into play. So what are the key things that people need to understand and be aware of in order to ensure that that strategy is good and effective?
And this is where we really help clients with one of our facilitated processes called PATH. Because this is where you can get really action oriented on, okay, so we've now got mission, vision. We've got our big annual goals, our 3 to 5 big rocks that we know if we deliver them, we're going to be in such a good position and moving forward. So this is where you go, okay, so if we was to work back, what do we need to do over this period of time? Who needs to do what by when? What are the work streams and the projects and the key things that are going to be able to make these goals a reality? And that's where you can have in the background some more detail around the strategy document, the strategic plan, or whatever it might be. I would still encourage keeping this incredibly simple. But this is for those folk who do want to go a little bit more detailed, this is where there's space to do it in the plan, the strategy. What challenges are we going to face? What are the obstacles that are going to stop us from getting there? What are the inhibitors like systems and processes that right now we don't have? You can really start to stack this area around a detailed, structured plan to be able to achieve those goals.
But you mentioned as well, so there's another tool that we use to help clients explore this, which is called PATH. But I think PATH, in going through that process, is critical, because how many organisations have you ever worked with where you've understood that their strategy actually isn't realistic, or they've not had the opportunity to even explore some of the challenges. They have it there, or they've got the strategy on the page, but actually if people can't connect and relate to it, the likelihood is because they haven't given themselves the opportunity to actually go through that process of even assessing, right, okay, where are we now in relation to that? What are some of the things that we need to bring in? Do we all buy into this strategy? Is it actually achievable? That's really important, because if you've not been through that process of really digging into it and pulling it apart, then the strategy isn't going to work, is it?
No. And there's another element to what you were just saying there. Some people do have a good strategy document. They have a strategic plan. And I look at it and I go, well, if all these things was achieved, you are going to achieve those goals. And that's going to advance you towards your mission. But there's one fundamental flaw that I would say 99.9% of cases happens time and time again, which absolutely sabotages the ability to execute that plan and achieve those goals. And that is, they don't do a good job at assigning owners and key contributors. So they'll put a load of work streams and projects and things that need to be done down. It all makes sense. And then we go off as a group or as a team or whatever, and everybody's doing things. Nothing's really advancing forward. We're stepping on each other's territory. We're pulling against each other. One is offsetting the progress of the other. And that is because we haven't simply gone, okay, if these are the 12 strategic pathways, pillars and initiatives we're going to embark on this year, who is the owner of each one? Owner means I am on the hook. I am the accountable person who is responsible for driving this and making it happen. And who are the key contributors? These are different. These are, I'm not owning it. It's not fundamentally going to rest with me in terms of accountability and responsibility. I'm not on the hook. But this person needs me and my department and team to contribute towards the work required to achieve that. And that's really important to understand, because if you define the owner of a part of the strategy or a work stream or initiative, it is that person's responsibility to ensure that the work is being done to achieve it. Not anybody else's, not the key contributors. It's that person's responsibility. And the reason that's important is because then it's not a shared responsibility. And you know my saying on this, the problem with the shared responsibility is that it's nobody's problem. Whereas when you say, no, Bernice, the direction of the consulting initiative we're doing here at T2 falls on your shoulders. I know you need several other people in T2 to help you, but you're on the hook to me for it. Mark my words, you will go forward and make sure that whatever you need, you get. If I said, it's everybody's responsibility to make sure that we're going in this direction and these things happen, you watch how much that dilutes accountability.
It's accountability, it's the clarity again, isn't it? It's that pure clarity that everyone needs. And you're going to definitely see much higher levels of productivity because that accountability is set.
So if you think about what we've come through so far, mission needs to be the message to the outside world. Simple, no more than 12 words or a statement, and it's got to describe what we're here to achieve. The vision is an internal statement of what we want to become along the way. In what fashion, in what way are we going to set ourselves up for success? You'll see in vision statements, people say, we want to be a great place to work, or, do you know what I mean? There's many different variations of that. But how are you going to set yourself up for success, and what do you want to become along the way? The goals, no more than 3 to 5. Big rocks, measurable, tangible outcomes, probably over a 12-month period that are going to advance us towards that mission and vision. And the strategy is the detailed plan, the work streams, the initiatives, the things we are going to deliver that will allow those goals to become a reality. The problem with the strategic plan for many organizations is there's no ownership and they don't define key contribution, and therefore it becomes incredibly diluted, disconnected. There's no accountability to deliver the strategic plan because nobody's on the hook. And that's where it falls in instantly.
Definitely. The next element then is all about values. So why are values important? What does good look like? And what's the impact if an organisation doesn't have values?
So this is like think about this final step of the strategic stack, the bottom run. This is the foundation. This is what's going to hold everything else up, which is why it's at the bottom. You can use values. We can use a few words. We could say it's the culture, the values, the behaviors, the things that are going to be our barometer, our compass. These are the things we define and agree that it doesn't matter what happens in the other layers of the stack. We need to make sure that these are guiding us, these are upheld, and never will they be reneged on. I like that. It's like our moral compass. It's what the organisation is going to stand for, and what we're not willing to negotiate on or compromise on for any success, or for any quick win, or for whatever it might be. And this is where this is what's going to create longevity in an organization's success and performance. And so if you think about it, the mission and the vision at the top never change, or they shouldn't, if you're setting them big and audacious enough.
Yeah, I suppose your vision, we sometimes say 3 to 5 year vision, but that's it for us. That will forever be.
The NASA thing. If your mission is to put a man on the moon, that was their mission for 20 years.
Yeah.
They then did it.
Yeah.
So their mission statement would then change. What is the next mission of this organization? But for most, your mission and vision for a long period of time will stay.
Yes.
If it's big enough, and if it's, adventurous enough and inspiring enough, it will be there. Your values are the same at the bottom. Once you set them, once you've said this is who we are and this is the way we want to do things and the type of people we want and the behaviors and the attributes that we want to foster every single day in this place, once you've got them, they should stay relatively consistent too.
Yeah.
Everybody loses faith when a company is redoing their values every year. And there's a new sign that goes on the wall and a new set of words.
It's almost like, well, those values didn't help us.
Why would I buy into these ones?
Let's change it. I remember it was an organisation where I worked with them for quite a few years, and the values, when I first joined that business, there was 10 of them. And those 10 values weren't even on the wall. They were on the back of your lanyard on your security pass. And it was a case of having, and because there was 10 of them, in order to actually see them, you had to take your card out of the security pass, look at the back of your ID badge, and they're all on them. Because there was 10, the descriptions, the font was so tiny, and I could not tell you now what those values were. They then recognised and realised, we're a huge organisation, we need to change this because that's not productive. No one could even list off just one of those 10 values. They then changed it to 3. And just very simple words, but everything that we did connected right back into those values. It was something that was such a massive, significant change. And it's something that it's a story and an example, it's a very simple example that I often share with so many businesses that I work with today. Because those values, it's almost like they're how we're going to support each other in order to achieve all of that stuff. So it's important that people can connect to them, and it sets the tone for the culture as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, and they have to be picked for a reason, and again, it's got to be able to be the things that are going to support us delivering the strategy, the goals to achieve the vision and the mission. It's worth mentioning a couple of hours here at T2. We have forgiveness as one, and the specific nature of that word for me is so important. What we mean by forgiveness here at T2 is we're all human. We know that more than anybody.
Yeah.
We're going to make mistakes. There's going to be tensions. We're going to have a bit of a Barney every now and then. Very rare here at T2, but it happens. We're going to be triggered into shadow. We're going to have our moments.
Yes.
But remember that your moment is coming also. So don't treat someone else too harshly based on a moment of shadow or a challenge or a situation they didn't handle very well. Show some forgiveness, right? Because it's probably not personal and it's not meant. Because when you need it, right, you want your colleague to turn around and go, I ain't taking this personally. You're clearly struggling. How can I help you?
Yeah.
Or how can we... So forgiveness is one of them. It's easy to hold grudges. It's easy to judge people. But think about it. You know, if you give that in someone's moment of need, you're going to get that back tenfold.
Oh, yeah. When we look at trust and psychological safety, that's something that's really important. And even I want to repeat something that you said there, Martin, as well, just recognising that we are all human. No human being is perfect. We all have those days and we live and breathe. I say this to clients so many times. At T2, working at T2, I live and breathe everything that we talk to people about. But that also means that we recognise that we're also human.
100%. Another one of ours, that appreciation, gratitude value. You know I'm big on this. It's like some things can go wrong or some things might not be to your liking, but don't lose sight of everything else that we do. Or everything else that's great about your job or about your opportunity to work in this organisation and go on this journey with us. Gratefulness and showing a bit of gratitude in a moment where you feel anything but it is a really positive habit I would implore anybody to, because we all do it in our life. Sometimes you can, whether it's in your relationships that for whatever reason you forget about the good stuff and you hone in on the problem right in front of you or the way something's making you feel right now here in this moment. And I forget months of laughter and good times and flexibility and reward, and I just can't get past what's in front of me right now. That's something that's really important to me to have in our culture here at T2 because it's easy to do that. And then the negativity comes, and you know that I'm a massive one for mood hoovers. It's like if someone's then spiraling into negativity and complaining, and that I just can't deal with that. I can't work with that, because we can work through any drudgery and any problems if we are focusing on solutions with a growth mindset and we're trying to go in the same direction together. So in order to do that, you need forgiveness and you need gratitude.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're just going to hone in on the problem in the here and now. And so there's an example of a few things we have, but we also have some
You missed my favourite one. I just want to add it, enjoyment.
Enjoyment.
That's my favourite.
Fun and enjoyment. We do have a laugh.
Yes, we do.
We do have a laugh.
But it helps.
But you've got to read, again, this is the thing when we talk about it, you've got to read the situation.
Definitely.
There's time for it, and then there's time where we've got to, we've got to be a bit more intense or focused or whatever it might be. But it's another important one. You have to have a laugh. You have to enjoy what you do. You can't take yourself seriously all the time. Yeah. But then that's mixed with a couple of other ones where we talk about high challenge, high support.
Yeah,
if you're going to be here, we're going to foster high challenge, high support, which says you're going to be challenged to be your best. Why do we pick that? Because don't forget, we're trying to become a world-class learning and development consultancy to make a difference to 2 generations in the workplace. Complacency isn't going to drive that. So high challenge says we're all going to hold each other to account and challenge to be the best we can be. However, the other side of that is high support. You will get support in abundance.
Yeah.
It's not just going to be challenge all the time. And so, again, we're sharing some of our values here at T2, but you can clearly see that it's not just a word. There is a reason as to why we have put those values in place and how they hold up everything that is good about T2.
Yeah.
How they underpin everything that makes us who we are, that makes us the team we are, that gives our clients the experience they have.
Yeah.
Because we hold ourselves to those values.
Yeah. And something that's critical as well, I would say, in any organisation is that executive senior leadership team, are they living and breathing those values as well? Because that alone will be what creates such a massive disconnect for everyone else in that organisation. And that's something that I'm sure we can both think of situations we've been in
Can
previously.
you imagine if I said, I want everybody to have a positive growth mindset in the face of adversity, and then every single time I was faced with adversity, I showed a negative moaning mindset. The whole thing would crumble in instantly.
No one else is going to be able to live and breathe those values if they're not seeing it in you.
The whole thing would fall in because they're going, now, this is an interesting point. Does that mean that I get that right all the time?
No, because you're human.
No.
And I forgive you when you're in shadow.
And have I walked in here and changed the weather and been in a bit of a negative state? Absolutely, because I'm human. But with those values in place, does it create the opportunity for someone to challenge me and say, come on, like, let's focus on this. What are we going to do about it? Remember who we are? Absolutely. And I would expect that.
Yeah.
Does it get me to focus on myself in that moment or in the aftermath and go, come on, Martin, practice what you preach, get yourself out of this and let's kick on and move forward.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does. It's really important that the leaders or the leader or the leadership team are living and breathing those values. And when they are human and they don't for a second,
Yes.
they're very quick to own it.
Yeah.
Or they allow others to challenge them.
Yes. It's where that kind of peer level is really critical. If we're working together and we're leading our own departments, if I recognise something that's maybe not serving you or others around you well, it's actually it's that high challenge, high support again. How do I help you see that? Because again, so often, because we are human and based on everything that we teach here at T2, we don't always realise that we're falling into that behaviour.
Exactly right. Exactly.
So with all of this, how does a really well-defined strategic stack help achieve optimal performance, which is a very big topic of conversation for us at T2?
Well, our fundamental philosophy at T2 is optimal performance. And for people who don't know what I'm talking about there, we talk about high performance and peak performance and all of this, but optimal performance states that it's when a team or individual do the very best they can with the time they have, with the resources at their disposal. And sometimes that might be a really juicy, nice outcome. It might constitute high performance. It might be accuracy. It might be and sometimes it might be that you're papering over the cracks and it's tough and it's the most optimal outcome you could have driven in that moment with the time you had and the resources you had. We like that because that's the real world.
Yes.
That describes the vast majority of people's weeks.
Yeah.
It can't all be high and peak performance this. It's just not the real world. We all have challenges. We all have obstacles to overcome or a shortness of resources and investment and people and time. And so sometimes you've just got to embrace optimal performance. Now, coming back to your question, why does the plan, the strategic stack, or I called the plan on the page, because I like that saying. The other thing with the strategic stack is if you can't put it all on one piece of paper at a high level, then challenge yourself to do so.
Yeah.
You should be able to. We have a plan on a page.
Yeah.
It's one slide.
Yeah.
With our stack on, and everybody, that's the Bible.
Yes.
That's where we're heading. But the reason it's so important is because when you do enter that drudgery and when times are tough, if you've got that flag on the hill defined, that mission and vision, you know where you are heading. If you know what is in your responsibility and how your role contributes to that and what your earning versus a key contributor, you are more likely to dig in drudgery, get through it and drive to the other side if you know where you are going and you know what the end game could look and feel like and how that's going to be great for the team, but it's also going to be incredibly rewarding for you.
Yeah.
So I think to answer your question, in the absence of that, when it gets tough, in the absence of knowing why we are doing this in the first place, you will not offer the significant contribution required to get through the tough times. You will bail out. You will become a victim mentality. You will blame others. You will offer minimal effort. All of the things that happens in the absence of going, no, I'm going to dig in because that's where I'm going.
Definitely.
So it's important to have all of the things we've talked about on this podcast. Otherwise, when the going gets tough, teams fall to bits.
Yeah, because you haven't got that purpose.
Or direction or clarity. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. So, Martin, if we start to just kind of summarise, what would you say would be kind of the 3 key takeaways for leaders from listening to this podcast?
Just 3.
Yeah. Power 3.
Well, the first one would be, if having listened to this, you have nothing like what we've described, or you have a couple of the ingredients, but the rest is very vague or not there, then I think it would be well worthwhile having some time to go through this and go, right, what is our mission?
Yeah.
Is it actually a mission? Or is it a vision? Or is it just a goal? What's our internal vision for the organisation? How many goals do we have? Like, we have 17 or
Too much.
25. How are we focusing enough effort on all of these goals? Do we have a plan and a strategy? Is there owners and key contributors, or are we all just sharing a little bit of everything? What are our values and behaviours? How have we decided them? What do we do to make sure people connect to them? And how do they underpin and become that moral compass for everything we do? I think that's the first big question to ask.
Yes.
What ingredients are we missing? And how, if you was to score yourselves, I've been listening to this podcast, 1 to 5 on how well you do the strategic stack, how would you score each layer? Mission, well, we've got that, 5. Vision, we actually don't have that when I think about it, 2. Goals, we have too many, 2. You know, if you scored yourself, that would be a really useful exercise to do.
Yeah.
I would think.
Well, I think you would be able to recognise based on outputs, performance and productivity, whether or not what it currently exists is working.
Yeah.
Or not working.
The second thing I would say to your question is the mission, vision and values should be consistent. They should be aspirational enough to span a longer period of time, and therefore they should be consistent. So do you have them locked in? Because the middle piece, the strategy and the goals, will change every 6 to 12 months.
Yes.
And so they should.
Yeah.
But do you have them locked in? And if you don't, you've got to do some work to lock them in, because that then becomes the consistent clarity that your people will see and hear every single year, month, meeting, whatever it might be. So I would definitely say, look at that. And the third thing, if I was to say there's a third thing, I would say, remember what I said earlier. The problem with the shared responsibility is that it's nobody's problem. And this is the biggest thing I see that cripples teams. It's a very simple thing to go, if we looked at all the things in this that need doing in this place, who is the owner of that and who are the key contributors? And the owner is the accountable person, the ultimate person who has to drive. They don't have to do it all, but they have to drive it. They have to make sure it's done.
Yeah, they're making it happen.
That's a real powerful thing. Then the key contributors, trust me, they will go into bat and start charming the key contributors to help them.
Yes.
That's where teamwork and collaboration starts to happen. So I'd think about your owners and key contributors as a third thing.
Definitely. Perfect. I just want to say thank you, Martin. It's been a really good podcast. And I suppose ultimately, if there's anyone listening to this podcast today and they're thinking, you know what, I think we could do with even just having a conversation about all of this, then definitely get in contact, because it's critical, isn't it?
It is. It is. You have to know where you are going.
Yes.
And it's just surprising how many don't. So, but there'll be many people who will have really strong elements of what we've talked about today, and then maybe a few of the other ones are just the missing link. So, absolutely, we can talk to any customers or anybody who's interested in a conversation about it.
So, that said, thank you very much, Martin.
You're welcome.
From our brand new podcast suite or studio, and we'll be back soon for another People Performance podcast.
The People Performance Podcast, brought to you by T2.